On the day of May 23rd, 1934, the notorious Bonnie Parker, age 24, and Clyde Barrow, age 25, were on their way to meet up with their friend Henry Methvin in Gippsland, Louisiana. Little did they know of the destruction that was waiting ahead for them. Henry Methvin's father, Ivan, was on the side of the road with a flat tire. When Bonnie and Clyde stopped to help, 6 lawmen riddled their car with bullets. Ivan Methvin's assisted a posse of law enforcement agents with the ambush on Highway 154 of Bonnie and Clyde, who were shot to death in a 1934 Ford Deluxe V8. Ivan was hoping for leniency for his son's involvement with the crimes he had committed with Bonnie and Clyde. It is unknown if Henry was aware of the arrangement. The head of the ambush was Texas Rangers Francis Hammer and Benjamin Galt. There were 167 bullets fired into the stolen Ford in less than 20 seconds. Clyde was hit at least 17 times and was believed to have been killed instantly. Bonnie was hit at least 26 times. On the day of the ambush, a tow truck hauling the shot-up V8 Ford with the couple's body still inside made its way through the town of Arcadia, Louisiana. Word had spread through the small town like wildfire about the killings, and it became a circus. More than that, it was death for Bonnie and Clyde.
Hey guys, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we're Sisters of the South. Finally, in our studio, coming to you with our official first video, Bonnie and Clyde.
So excited.
It's been a long time coming, but we're very excited for this. And we appreciate y'all hanging in there and watching our small shorts until we got this thing started. So
it's been a lot of work, guys, but it's been a lot of fun. We've been busy behind the scenes on social media, trying to just kind of pump people up and maybe get to know us. I know sometimes we have a little bit of a sick sense of humor as well, but we mean that with the best of intention.
We do want to give a little shout out to SoFly, who is amazing.
SoFly.
We will set up a store and get some merchandise going for everyone because we've already been asked for it. So if you could just hang in there a little while with us and let us know if you do want anything, we'll get it to you. They do amazing work. We will put their link down below.
Yeah, SoFly is a small business run by family here in the Houston area, and they're doing a phenomenal job. They're great customer service, and they have a stream of colors and things that you can choose from. So give them a shout out, see if they can do anything for you. It's all unique and personalized to your liking.
All right, so I guess we can get started with how everybody's doing. Stephanie, how's your week going?
Busy. What have I been doing? Working, guys. I work full time. Well, a job and a half really in one, but super busy. And how about you?
I'm just taking care of the kids. Sports. Basketball game this morning.
Yeah, basketball season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
how'd it
little
go?
ones, it's basketball every day. It was a loss, but it was good. They're learning. So you just have to hang in and watch the learning.
Hey, there's no loses. There's never a loss.
Yeah, they're learning. So they do have teams kind of split, I feel like. These kids don't know how to play. Let's put them on this team. But these kids have been playing for a few years. We'll put them all on one team. So it's like my kid who's never played versus a kid that looks like he should be playing high school basketball.
Right. That's scary.
I know. For her too.
That's okay. It's live and learn.
Hey,
she'll learn.
The harder teams make it easier to learn.
And basketball runs in the family. Our mom was an avid basketball player through high school. It was her favorite sport. It runs in the blood. So Avery will do wonderful.
She's already a black belt in Taekwondo. So
yeah, hey, that runs in the family too. I have a son with a black belt in Taekwondo. See, we're a sporty family.
Sure.
Not me.
My little one, though, she's good at basketball, but refuses to play. So we'll see if I make her do it.
Oh, maybe she'll find something better she likes.
No, we're just going to put her in everything and see how it goes.
Oh, little Emma.
So, we'll stop talking about ourselves and get started with the story.
Yeah, so let's jump in. We're going to take a step back into time circa 1934. So we're talking exactly 90 years ago, which is hard to imagine what the days were like back then. I always picture it in black and white. It's really hard for me to see that time in color, but we're going to add some color to that as we go with the story because there's a lot of coloring to do. Um, in a time where there was much simpler things to do, there was no computers, no cell phones, no SUVs with leather and heated seats and steering wheels, which she just bought a new SUV yesterday, y'all. So she gets it. She gets it. Yeah. No heated seating. The economy was in a dark, deep gloom, causing many families to live in poverty. These years are called the Great Depression, which was a severe global economic downturn that affected many countries across the world. The average annual income, y'all, was $603 a year. I can't even imagine.
Well, that's less than most people's car payments now.
Right. So think about that. 100 years ago, your annual income was $603. For the state of Texas, they were optimistic about the future in 1929. Over the past decade, the population had grown to 5,824,715 people, representing a gain of more than 1 million people, or 25%. This meant an increased growth in the lumber industry, irrigation, cotton, hides of wool and mohair, and of course, oil and gas. Texans are of the mindset at this time that the Great Depression would only affect those moneyed gamblers in the stock market. In other words, those rich people. Texans readily supported President Hoover's morale crusade. In May 1934, we're just going to go back a little bit, color those pages, talk about the songs and movies. But the number one song was Cocktails for Two by Duke Ellington. Top grossing movie was Little Miss Maker with Shirley Temple. And this is the big one, y'all. The governor of Texas was Miriam Amanda Ferguson, also known as Ma Ferguson.
She was the first female governor in the state of Texas. So that's, I guess, kind of ahead of the times. I'm not sure.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah.
She had to deal with a lot of hard men, cowboys.
The rancher attitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a tough lady. I think that she took a lot of pride in what she was doing. She had her own way of doing things, and she definitely had her own mindset when it came to how she was going to run the state of Texas. So she is a really interesting person. So some of y'all may want to get out there and read on her.
She was quite the badass.
Yeah, she's a badass. We're going to talk about another badass while we're on the subject. Her name was Bonnie Elizabeth Parker, born October the 1st, 1910 in Rowena, Texas. She was born to Charles Robert and Emma Krause Parker. She was the second of three children. The first one was a boy named Hubert. They called him Buster. And then there was Billie Jean. And then, of course, Bonnie. Bonnie was a small-statured lady, only standing 4'11" and weighing 90 pounds. Bonnie had doll-like features with long blonde wavy hair and bright blue eyes. Now, first, I just want to get on this 4'11" and 90 pounds because God knows at 3, I weighed more than that and was probably taller than 4'11". So I'm like, this lady right here, I mean, she had to have been full of piss and vinegar, right?
Well, yeah, she
just born with it.
My almost 11-year-old is 5'2" and weighs more than that. So
a bunch of big folks over here. I mean, I can't even imagine. So Bonnie just came in, first of all, with a challenge of being small in stature, but she's like, no, guys, I'm going to show you what I'm made of. So obviously she was boiling with attitude out her ears. out of her nose, everything. She was just radiating fight, piss and vinegar. So you got to admire her for that. Bonnie's favorite color was red. She wore fashionable clothing when she could afford it that would dominate that color in all of her wardrobe. So I can imagine Bonnie walking around with a red hat, maybe a black dress, because red's got to pop, right? And of course, I see her with red lipstick overlined just perfectly. Oh my goodness. I'm sure all the men was just looking at Bonnie, staring at Bonnie with that red hat and
Some
red
of them
lips.
probably did not know how to take her, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure she was a little intimidating. Little intimidating. The family lived comfortably with her father's job as a bricklayer, but when he died unexpectedly in 1914, when Bonnie was just 4 years old, Emma moved Bonnie and her siblings in with her mother in Cement City, located on the west side of Dallas. Now, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, the west side of Dallas is considered the poverty-stricken area at this point in time. And so they didn't have a lot of money. I think they lived modestly, although they probably had some comforts until Bonnie's dad passed. But again, they moved in with their grandmother, and obviously she, was going to help them out, but probably lived modestly as well. Bonnie was a stellar student with a passion for poetry and writing. She also had the dream of becoming an actress, but despite her honors in high school, she was definitely not a teacher's pet. She was not the favorite. I'm sure she had a lot to say.
I wasn't the favorite either. So,
well, I was for a short time because I was quiet.
I
and
was
then
too, but I don't think they liked me.
I learned the power of speaking, and I
I
spoke a
never
lot.
did.
Emma Parker recalled that Bonnie was always in a scrape of some sort in school and too full of mischief. So again, full of piss and vinegar. I'm sure her mother had to go up to the school all the time because Bonnie was talking too much. I'm sure that she was running her mouth because she knew it all. I mean, she was telling people what it was. She had a lot to prove, this young lady. So it started early with her. Bonnie's cousin Bess remembers an incident when the two girls had been stealing Bonnie's pencils. Given the Parkers' family poverty, Bonnie didn't take too kind to them. After she caught them one day, Bess and Bonnie lured them down to the gravel pit and gave them a beating of a lifetime.
That's what you do when someone steals your pencils.
Your pencils or your horse in Texas, guys. Don't come over here stealing our stuff, okay?
We like our pencils.
And our horses. And our men. Okay, you can't come over here stealing our men. That's a whole nother story. While Bonnie was still in high school, she began a relationship with Roy Thornton, a classmate. She married him just before she turned 16 on September 25th, 1926. Unfortunately, their love was short-lived. Bonnie and Roy Thornton soon moved in with his mother, which caused trouble to emerge early in their marriage, which, let's be honest, marriage is hard enough, but we're going to add the mother-in-law in. I mean, was he a mama's boy? Maybe kind of sounds like it. I don't know, but that's asking for trouble if you ask me. Roy started taking off for long periods of time, which forced Bonnie to get a job at Marco's Cafe in Dallas just to pay the bills. Meanwhile, Roy's absence grated on Bonnie. Bonnie wrote, "Diary, every night I look at this dear little picture of him and I'm fully discouraged, for I know I can never live with him again." So her heart was broken. She's probably trying to figure out what she needs to do to get him back to her side. She probably thinks all of that's his fault or her fault. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why are you pounding the pavement?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like, and of course, this is me speculating because I didn't know Bonnie and we didn't hang out.
I would have hung out with Bonnie, though.
But she was, heartbroken but pissed. I mean,
that was probably her
we
first
get married,
feeling.
you leave me
with your mother-in-law.
I mean,
like, what
who
did I
would
do?
Not be angry?
For sure. Yeah. Well, maybe he didn't want to be home with his mom either. I mean, we'll take Bonnie with you.
Thank you.
Maybe
I think
he didn't
had
like
other
both women.
ideas. Like, you stay home with mom. I got other things to do.
I'm sure he was
to see.
I'm sure he was drinking and had him another girlfriend.
Sure he was the perfect gentleman.
Yeah,
not doing much of anything.
Well, I mean, we go straight on into Bonnie and Roy split up many times. But by December of 1927, Bonnie got word of Roy's infidelity and she left him for the final time. She's like, look, Roy, okay? Like, your ass ain't gonna be running the streets while I'm living here with your mama running around on me. Like, ain't having none of that. And I don't blame her. Like, stay home or I'm out the door. So here we are. Her and Roy are no more. Despite this fact, Bonnie never officially divorced Roy. However, when she died, she still had a tattoo on her thigh commemorating their love. Now here's little old Bonnie. Probably looks like she's about 13 years old or 12. And she's going into a tattoo parlor to get a tattoo on her thigh. This is probably 1930-ish. That was risque, y'all. Big time.
That's Bonnie.
See, I remember when the tramp stamp came out. So can you imagine back then getting a tattoo on your thigh? I wonder if they had any type of nickname for that kind of tattoo.
Well, I remember when it was just a lower back tattoo when we got them. And they were not a tramp stamp. Thank you.
Well, just because you have one don't mean you're a tramp. I don't have one, y'all. I don't have one. I do have a tattoo.
So anyway.
Bonnie had the reputation as a hard worker. She also had compassion for a number of homeless men who came to the restaurant and fed them for free. By the end of 1929, the cafe that Bonnie worked at closed, so Bonnie had no job and no husband. But as far as we know, she wouldn't stay single for long. But as we all know, she wouldn't stay single for long. Many people that knew Bonnie as a young girl were shocked with the path she took. With the possibility of a writing career or being an actress, she ultimately chose a life of crime. Bonnie Parker's life before she met Clyde Barrow has received less attention than her exploits of crime with her infamous partner. What motivated her to join Clyde on his crime spree? Like, you're raised in a good family and you just have this wild hair, like this fire lit on you. You got to have that bad boy.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's all about the bad boy. She was young. She had been abandoned by her husband.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Went out for love the first time.
Well,
let's try for the fun stuff the second time.
Boredom, maybe?
I mean, boredom in that, I think that was her personality.
Yeah, she needed
something to keep her going.
Right? Well, they kept her busy. In January of 1930, 19-year-old Bonnie would meet 20-year-old Clyde Barrow at a friend's home where she was taking care of her friend's injury. Quote, it all came about so quickly as such momentous and life-changing things often do, recalled Emma Parker. Quote, Clyde dropped by the girl's house. Bonnie was there and they met, Emma Parker said. She also believed it was love at first sight. Despite the fact that Clyde already had a criminal record, Bonnie found herself completely in love with him. Her heart was broken when he was arrested yet again for car theft shortly after their romance began. Now, red flag, guys. Red flag, okay? If you are dating a guy and you've only invested 2 or 3 months, please run if he gets arrested. No questions asked. Don't ask why, how. Oh, baby, it ain't me. No.
I can change.
I love you. Love changes everything. No. Red flag. Okay? Remember that. He's in jail. Leave him there. Go back home to mama. Get away from him. But not Bonnie. She runs to it. Quote, Sugar, I'm so blue I could die, she wrote Clyde in February 1930 while he was in prison. When Clyde was released in 1932, Bonnie joined him on a new crime spree alongside the rest of the Barrow gang. Before long, they had terrorized many businesses in Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. So, yeah, here we are. Bonnie went from Roy, the runaround, highfalutin, living with his mama, to Clyde Barrow. I mean, I don't know. I'm confused, y'all. I don't know what it is about these bad Texas boys, but run, okay? Just saying. I could get off on a tangent.
We won't.
We won't.
This time.
So then we're going to step into a little bit of explanation of maybe why she was so attracted to Clyde Barrow. So we've got Clyde Chestnut Champion Barrow. So Clyde was called Champion. That was his nickname. So from a little tyke, this guy already thinks he's 6'10". Okay. Although he's not, he feels that way because he's been built up this way his whole life. He was born March 24th, 1909 in Ellis County, Texas. Clyde Barrow was born to Henry Barrow and Kumi Walker Barrow. He was the fifth of 7 children, 5 sons and 2 daughters. There was Elvin, Artie, Marvin, also known as Buck, Elsie, Nellie Mae, and Lillian Marie. Clyde stood at 5'7" with thick, wavy brown hair and chestnut brown eyes, who adorned his modest frame with a pinstripe 3-piece suit, shirt, tie, and a hat. He had 2 tattoos, one of a shield and anchor with USN, or United States Navy, and EBU for Eleanor B. Williams, initials for a lady he was smitten with before Bonnie Parker. Clyde's favorite car was the Ford V8. He was so impressed with the car that he wrote Henry Ford complimenting him on the design. Although I can't confirm Clyde's favorite color, I will assume it was red, hence the color of Bonnie's lipstick. So I'm just assuming because I looked everywhere for his favorite color, never found it. So I'm going to assume red. Clyde had been a criminal long before meeting Bonnie in January 1930. Clyde was first arrested in late 1926 at age 17 in Waco, Texas, after running when police confronted him over a rental car that he failed to return on time. These charges were eventually dropped. He was considered a juvenile delinquent, and some say spent 2 days in jail bawling for his mama. I'm sorry. I find that funny because this is the champion here. I mean, I guess mama wasn't cooking him biscuits
and
in prison. So
champion. I'm pretty sure he didn't go by champion in prison.
Oh, well, he might have.
I don't know. There could have been a different name.
It could have been a different name. His second arrest was with his brother Buck soon after for possession of stolen turkeys. We'll get into that in a second. I just need to know, how do you know these turkeys are stolen?
In or the 30s
and
or 20s.
How do you identify a stolen turkey? That was my big question. I mean, do you know? Maybe they clipped some of their wings or they had color patterns. I'm not sure, but it just kind of.
Well, some people name their chickens. Maybe they name their turkeys.
Well, yeah, but when you call them, do they come to you? Do you put a turkey collar on them with their name? I mean, I'm just curious.
Maybe. I don't have turkeys.
I don't either. Maybe I'll get one. On October 16th, 1929, Waco police arrested Clyde in the company of 2 wanted men, William Turner and Frank Hardy, at the Roosevelt Hotel downtown. Together with Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, they made the perfect couple in crime and love. They become the notorious Bonnie and Clyde duo, which has been romanticized and pondered for generations. After being together for a few months, their budding romance was interrupted in April when Clyde went back to prison on several criminal charges. Okay, guys, another red flag here. Back to prison. So Bonnie had one chance. Okay, I'm going to take you back this time. Okay, No more. No more. And now we're going to go in several more months. She takes him back. And where does Clyde end up after stealing them damn turkeys? Back to jail.
It's excitement. Everyone needs some excitement in their life.
I mean, but turkeys? I mean,
maybe she said it was a different story.
Maybe she liked turkey salad.
It is good. I mean, HEB has some great turkey salad.
Man, that turkey pecan cranberry salad, girl, don't that makes me hungry. Okay. Okay. I take that back. If a man would steal a turkey from me, maybe, but now anything else, no. No. But you got to cook for me.
Just a turkey.
Just a turkey.
No chickens. Just
no,
all poultry.
Okay. Maybe chicken. Okay. Turkeys and chickens.
If he stole me some tacos and margaritas.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. There are exceptions. Okay.
We're going to open it up a little bit.
In desperation, Bonnie snuck a gun into the jail to Clyde during a visit which he escaped with shortly after. He was caught and sent back to jail. Allegedly, he was repeatedly assaulted by an inmate. He retaliated by killing the inmate with a metal pipe, committing his first murder. An inmate that was serving a life sentence claimed responsibility for the murder for Clyde. Clyde was paroled in February 1932 after successfully positioning of his release.
But not before Clyde would use an axe to amputate his 2 toes for lighter work duty. It's like my luck. If I were to amputate my toes, that would be when I got released from something.
Yeah, I'm not amputating my toes. I'm already clumsy enough that would screw my balance so bad. Like what in the? And then I'd get an infection and lose my
die
and lose my whole leg.
Like, okay. See, we have bad luck in our family, and if I did something stupid like that, that would literally be the time that they released me, but then I would die of an infection.
Yes, exactly.
But at least I'd be at home.
Well, I mean, once he's released, the hardened Clyde went on a crime spree, robbing banks and small businesses. I mean, he had something to live for. I mean, he ain't got no time for no amputated toes. He's got shit to do. I mean, he's got to steal some turkeys and money. I mean, he's got to take care of Bonnie.
Well, he moved on from the turkeys. He learned his lesson and moved on to banks.
Bonnie, what are you thinking? Okay, we're going to give you another chance. Bonnie joined the Barrow gang in April of 1932, but was captured during a failed robbery attempt and imprisoned for 2 months. Bonnie said, hey, this is the man for me. Okay, I'm going down for this man. And then she gets caught. Guys, he went off and left her. They're robbing a bank. The cops catch her, and Bonnie's like, hey, Clyde, thank you. Clyde, where are you, Clyde? Oh, Clyde, he's done down the road, honey. He's like, I don't know that woman. Yeah, I'll catch up with you later, Bonnie. Thanks. Wonder if he'd smuggle a gun into her. Probably not. Anyway, Bonnie, come on. Wake the fuck up. We're going to continue. While she awaited trial, she passed the time writing poetry, much of which detailed her time with Clyde. In June of 1932, the court failed to convict Bonnie after she stated that she was kidnapped by the Barrow gang. She was released from jail and quickly reunited with the gang, where they continued their crime spree, which spanned multiple states. This girl right here, I mean, let's just join. Hey, get it, girl.
They got her out of the restaurant, the cafe. She didn't have to work there anymore.
I mean,
now, granted, we are not taking up for Bonnie at all.
No. Again, where's the flag? Oh, so many red flags. This whole story. Wonder
sometimes, I think that's why they're so romanticized, is she followed him everywhere.
Everywhere, no matter what. The loyalty was...
Even if he left her, she would just stick by his side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, she joined him. By this time, they had gotten several people in the gang. So the Barrow gang consisted of Bonnie and Clyde, Buck Barrow and Blanche Barrow, William Deacon Jones, Henry Methvin, Raymond Hamilton, and William Daniel Jones, or WD, which, if you know this story, WD comes up a lot. By 1933, the Barrow Gang was wanted for several murders, including the deaths of various law enforcement officers. The couple eluded arrest for 2 years, becoming one of America's most notorious outlaws. After merely escaping a shootout in Joplin, Missouri in April of 1933, the Barrow Gang left many of their belongings behind, including the famous photos of the outlaws striking nefarious poses with guns. These photos were reproduced and published in newspapers all across the country, catapulting the couple's overnight fame. By this time, the Barrow Gang had split up due to the killings of 2 Texas state troopers, E.B. Willer, H.D. Murphy, and an Oklahoma officer, W.C. Campbell, for which Henry Methvin was blamed as the main shooter. On the night of June 10th, 1933, Clyde and Bonnie were in the passenger seat and were speeding along the rural roads of North Texas so fast that he missed a detour sign warning of a bridge under construction. The Ford V8 smashed through the barricade at 70 miles per hour and flew through the air before landing in a dry riverbed. Scalding acid poured out of the smashed car battery and severely burned Bonnie's right leg, eating away at her flesh down to the bone in some places. As a result of the third-degree burns, Bonnie, like Clyde, walked with a pronounced limp for the rest of her life. And she had such difficulty walking that at times she hopped or needed Clyde to carry her. She began taking morphine to dull the pain. When she left behind medical supplies while fleeing the police, the rumor arose that she and Clyde were addicted to drugs. It was said that Clyde weaned her off the drug. Okay. I don't know where this came from. Okay. When does this man have time he can't even keep his shit together and he's over here, Bonnie, it's time. Okay. You need to get off the drugs. I'm going to wean you off the drugs. I mean, do you believe that?
Well, I mean, it's okay to be a bank robber, but it's not okay
to be a drug
addict.
What? I mean,
priorities.
I don't know, but if he's that disciplined and can wean people off of drugs, imagine what he could have done for the world. But no, we're going to continue on this crime spree.
It's more fun that way, I guess.
I mean, he liked the adrenaline.
He clearly loved it. He lived off of it. I mean, just thrived off of it. And so did she.
Yeah.
But she needed to be sober for it.
I'm sure that's a personality disorder. I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure nowadays they have something that's called. I just don't know what it is. Not sure how he
felt for it.
Yeah. So at the time, Edgar Hoover was the president, and he's responsible for some of the misinformation that still surrounds them to this day, especially about Bonnie and Clyde's love life. Now, listen, poor Clyde. He's had a lot of rumors spread about him. The movie that was done in the 60s, stories that I've read online, they all want to say that he's a homosexual. He was asexual. I don't think any of that's true. Me personally, I think that more than likely, if he was assaulted in prison, it just messed his head up. I just think it was hard for him to move on from that. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, it does. I'm sure it messes you up and.
Well, I mean, it traumatizes you.
And I think sometimes men are more than women are a little more embarrassed about that fact.
Of course.
You know, so it was hard for him to get past it, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's hard anyway, but.
Yeah, and that could be some of the reason why he became sort of aggressive at some point of his life. I believe that he loved Bonnie the best that he knew how to love, but he didn't show that love in a sexual manner to her. I think that he probably coddled her a little bit, but I don't think it would be a husband wife relationship. I think that it was more of a dominating whatever he told her. She was going to go with it, she was going to believe him. It was ride or die, and he was going to take her to the grave. But as far as the deep, sensual, lovemaking relationship, I just don't see it. Some people think he was bisexual. I could find no any type of information stating that he had ever had affairs with men or men and women. It was all rumors, thanks to President Hoover. So I don't know. We'll just leave that as a mystery. At the end of the day, it's really none of our business. Um, you live your life how you want to live it, and that's fine. But it is up for speculation. It makes people wonder, um, you know, what it was like. You think, oh, we're out on the road, we're running from the law, and it's all sexually driven. And I don't think they had time for that. I really don't.
Well, no, and I think it was more about what they were doing and the excitement and like that kind of partnership
Right.
and love, like we're getting away with this together.
It was more loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more loyalty and probably friendship more than anything. Yeah. Well, in 1934, Bonnie, Clyde, Blanche, and Buck were on the run through Palestine, Texas. They got them a motel room and decided to rob Robinson State Bank. This bank still stands in the small, quaint town of Palestine. We recently went to visit the site. It feels like you've stepped back into the 1930s. It's now a law office. So it literally feels like even the streets are small, and it feels like, oh, it's 1934.
Well, Palestine hasn't changed a whole lot. They still have a lot of the same buildings, and which is the coolest part of going to Palestine. They've got a lot of shops in the old buildings. Very fun to visit.
They have some cool little spots, just music, bakeries. It's cute.
Great pub.
Great pub.
It was fun to see and think about what happened in that building. I mean, it was horrible, but it's fun to take yourself back into that time.
Yeah. And just the setup, the sidewalks are very small. So you think, how did they get in and out without anyone seeing them? Or I'm sure to think that Palestine might have been a little bustling town back then. So they had to be pretty, it had to be a planned situation, I would think. They probably scoped it out to see when was the less busier time so they could get in and out quickly. But it's interesting to see that. And Palestine has stayed true to their roots, and they've kept the integrity of those buildings, which is phenomenal to see. It's very beautiful. So if you guys get a chance, if you come to Texas, go check out Palestine, Texas. It is rumored that Bonnie and Clyde hid out in the small town of Harper, Texas as well, which is 23 miles from Fredericksburg. We also spent some time there. The story goes that Bonnie had an aunt on the Parker side of the family that resided in Harper. It is rumored that Bonnie would write to her aunt during their crime sprees. The assumption is that they hid out at the aunt's house for a couple of weeks before going to Louisiana. After speaking with some Harper locals, we were told that the Parker family were partiers and they were always out looking for a fight. And if they couldn't find it, they'd just fight each other. So
sounds like the Parkers just had that in them to begin with, the excitement. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Well, I mean, a good old fight never hurt nobody, right? As long as you love each other tomorrow, it's all good.
We don't know if that happened, but
we don't know. But I assume.
We did go in and take pictures of the house and the areas. Nothing's really changed back near the house where they hid out. So
it's pretty desolate.
You can kind of see like the landscape and what they were hiding in.
Yeah. The house still stands.
Yeah. The original house.
Yeah, it's really cool. In a newspaper story from the West Current published Thursday, September 11th, 2008, an interview was done with Buzzy. Buzzy said that although it was before his time, he heard an account from former Harper postmaster Frank Stott, and that they had come through Harper on U.S. Highway 290, where it's Easy Pickens Barbecue. Well, it used to be Easy Pickens Barbecue. It is now a Mexican food restaurant. At the time of 1934, it was a filling station owned by Bertram Segesser, where Frank worked in 1934, Buzzy said. He said that a man and a woman pulled up in a touring car, and the man, who was dressed nicely, asked if they could have some used oil. He put in about 5 quarters and got 3 more. The man paid and then left the station without any trouble. That same day, in early May, Frank heard the news that they had been spotted in the area, and Gillespie County Sheriff Smokey Clarner had gone out hunting for them with a shotgun. From there, the pair fled to Louisiana. Bonnie and Clyde were so famous at the time of their deaths that people tried to steal their hair, clothing, and even Clyde's ear. Can you believe that? People loved them.
Yeah, they kind of, it was like they were celebrities.
Yeah, they romanticized them. Like, people still romanticize them. They're so
Absolutely.
mysterious. People want the ride or die. I want ride or die if it's good. I don't want ride or die in the bad situation.
I mean, we're kind of ride or die. Only my sister can talk me into doing things that I absolutely do not want to do. We have history of that.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I've never, taken you to rob a bank.
Not a bank.
I mean, okay, we're going to move on.
Please.
Bonnie died with a wedding ring on her hand. However, this ring was not from Barrow. It was from her first marriage to Thornton. She also had a tattoo on the inside of her right thigh. There's that tattoo, guys. Now, they say it's on the inside of her thigh. So in the 1930s, a young woman's going into a tattoo parlor and asking for a tattoo on the inside of her thigh. That kind of tells you, Bonnie did it her way. She didn't care what people thought. It was 2 interconnected hearts labeled Bonnie and Roy. It was also rumored that she was 2 months pregnant at the time of her death, although her family denies this vehemently. So there's a lot of rumors. There's rumors that Bonnie had a baby, gave it up for adoption. Some people say it was WD's baby. Some people think it was Clyde's. But her family stand to this day and say Bonnie was not pregnant. So, I mean,
It's just a legend.
It's just a legend. I think a lot of people kind of wish that she had been. Then you go back to their sexual history, and so it's questionable, but we'll never know. Interestingly, Bonnie Parker, despite her rough and tumble image, rarely handled weapons. In fact, there is no hard evidence that she ever shot anyone except herself once in the foot while clowning around with one of Clyde's guns. So why on earth would she even entertain Clyde Barrow and the complete package of a bad boy? I don't know.
I mean, she was pretty small.
Well, what does that have to do with it?
Well, I mean, we know people that can't shoot because they're not strong enough. I'm trying to word that right.
Well,
you know what it's heavy. I don't know. I'm just trying to help her out a little bit.
Well, she could have had a Derringer. I mean, those are pretty small.
Well, I was just trying to help the girl out.
Okay.
I mean, maybe she didn't want to be the person that killed anyone.
Red flag for Clyde Barrow. If your girl can't hold a gun and you're out robbing banks, maybe you want to find a
different girl.
Just saying. I don't know, but poor little Bonnie.
I'm just saying, we know people that they shake and it takes them a minute. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, nothing wrong with anyone who doesn't want to handle a gun or have one in their
Maybe she was
purse.
Okay with robbing banks, but not killing people.
Oh, Well, I mean,
there is a line, right?
no, not to me.
Okay,
There's a fine line.
It's a fine line, but I think I'd rob a bank before I killed someone. Not that I'm robbing banks, guys. I'd trip and fall and get caught. So,
well, I'm not quite sure what she thought would happen. They're going into these banks. People need money. I mean, this is the Depression era. People are needing money, they're needing food. And in those cases, people can become violent. So I'm not quite sure why would she even risk being with a person who that could happen? Or maybe she just thought he's the man, he can carry the gun. I don't know. Who knows?
Me, if you're going to have a
Bonnie, what were you thinking?
Of person that she was, I don't know if.
But she was full of piss and vinegar, so it was going to be Bonnie's way or the highway. I'm just confused. I'm not sure why she picked Clyde. I really don't know. But the body count of Bonnie and Clyde is thought to be at least 13 people. Also, they robbed numerous banks, gas stations, and stores. Bonnie and Clyde's robberies never exceeded $1,500 during their 20-month hiatus. So, red flag. If I'm going to date a man who is robbing banks and stores, okay, it better be worth your while.
Well, because that's less than 3 times what an annual income is. So,
okay, so
is it worth it?
So 1500.
Maybe that's why she didn't want to kill anyone. We're not getting enough money.
Well, I mean, she's like, no, we're not killing.
I'm not taking a life. I'll just take a few dollars.
And you got to remember, folks, $1,500 isn't a lot of money in today's standards, but in 1934, $1,500 is the equivalent of $34,337 of today's money.
Okay, but you've got people making $600 a year. Mm-hmm. They did this for how many years?
Yeah, year and a half.
They could have just worked.
Right? Wouldn't have
They're
no
not really making
trauma.
That much more money. Yeah, they've cut off their toes. Yeah, they've shot themselves. Yeah. They've gotten into an accident. I mean,
right. You could have just got a job, worked at the cafe.
So it was exciting. You got an adrenaline rush.
I mean,
you didn't get much more.
Well, it was hardly worth the devastation and terror that they created to their victims and their families. I know that while reading on Bonnie and Clyde, that they met up with their family on numerous occasions for picnics during Mother's Day. They would give their mothers money and kind of take care of them, which is hence the reason people would call them like the Robin Hood.
Yeah, they compared them to Robin Hood.
You know, the notorious outlaws. But their families would have much rather had them here on earth, you know, instead of them out robbing banks. I'm sure that they would just prefer them to live normal lives and not have that stress on them during that time. You know, while we're talking about all of this, it's more, you know, we're talking about robbing banks, but they killed people. And the majority of the people that they killed were law enforcement officers. And we would like to pay honor to the law enforcement officers that bravely lost their lives to protecting civilians from Bonnie and Clyde. Law officers killed during this crime spree was Eugene Moore, Ataka, Oklahoma, August 15th, 1932. His age was 31.
Malcolm Davis in Dallas, Texas, January 6, 1933. He was 52.
Harris McGinnis, Joplin, Missouri, April 13th, 1933, aged 53.
Wes Harriman, Joplin, Missouri, April 13th, 1933. He was 42.
Henry D. Humphrey, Alma, Arkansas, June 22nd, 1933, aged 51.
Major Crossan, Huntsville, Texas, January 27th, 1934, age 33.
E.B. Willer, Grapevine, Texas, April 1st, 1934, age 26.
H.D. Murphy, Grapevine, Texas, April 1st, 1934. He was only 22.
Cal Campbell, Commerce, Oklahoma, April 6, 1934, aged 60. So that's going to conclude our story of Bonnie and Clyde. Don't have a lot of answers that to the questions that I had when I began looking through their story. My biggest question is, Bonnie, why? Just why? I just wonder what she could have done with her life.
Yeah, I think it would have been, she could have been a mom, a wild and crazy mom, teaching her kids.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a great personality. You know, she could have done so many things with herself.
She could have raised strong women, strong sons. She could have been an actress. Definitely could have been a writer. She had a lot of poetry that she'd pour her heart out into. And I think that was her source of therapy. But beautiful writing that I think some people have entered into some music and song, just some of the lyrics. And it was heartwarming, some of the things, but also sad that she allowed Clyde to come into her life and just lead her the wrong way. And I will say that women have come a long way in 90 years. I know back then they couldn't just go out and get any job they wanted, and they couldn't even get a credit card or buy a home or a car on their own. But I think she could have picked a better path. So whatever the reasoning, she didn't, but it left me with probably more questions than answers.
And I know we laugh and talk about Bonnie and Clyde because it's an old story and some of it's a little crazy, but we do have to remember the people that lost their lives trying to catch them in their stupidity.
Yeah. Just looking for, I don't know if it was validation or just trying to have fun.
Being
or
selfish.
Ego. I think ego plays really into it, and yeah, very selfish. So, we just want to close this out by saying thanks for listening to us. It's been a long journey, but it's been so much fun, and we have more to come. But we wanted to start out with Bonnie and Clyde. Number one, they're one of the oldest true crime stories that Texas has. There's many other ones, but this is the notorious Bonnie and Clyde. So we just thought it fitting that we start out with them.
Break us in. Get us ready for the everything else that's to come.
Yeah, because we've watched movies, and the Highwaymen it was really good on a different spectrum going into this story. But we definitely wanted to pay respect to the law officers that did lose their life. Oh, okay. Until then, guys, we'd like to say see the good and stay imperfectly perfect. And until next time, be good.
See you next time.
Bye.